What's up, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly show where we bring you some news, some opinion, and hopefully a laugh or two. We're going to share some things that we've learned throughout, well, since Sunday. Maybe the occasional business maxim, definitely some e-commerce news, and of course, we are here to answer any and all of your questions about selling on Amazon. So, if you're curious about retail arbitrage, maybe you're having a little trouble with online arbitrage, you want to dive into wholesale, or perhaps you just have a Keepa quandary, make sure to drop those in the chat and we will be happy to help. For those of you new here, I'm Chris Grant, and to my right is my abstemious co host, Chris Rasick. And no, I did not get that from a Harry Potter novel. That is a real word.
I still laugh that like 200 adjectives ago you were kind of bemoaning the fact that you thought you were going to run out soon, and there still hasn't been a repeat. So
it's not much, but it is honest work digging these up, and
right.
So I enjoy it.
Yeah, hey, so we are Wednesday. I don't know if it's done or still in progress, but there has been no reports of any hostage situations from the Walmart sellers convention.
I know. I was expecting video to show up on World Star Hip Hop. I have been checking and refreshing, and there's nothing. I'm slightly disappointed, and I guess also glad that resellers are being respectful during a tense situation.
Yeah, I did laugh when the CEO had the display board behind him and it said, "We want to be your favorite place to sell." Like, well, why don't you let me sell? Give me permission to sell some things, and maybe you will be. Hey, so I thought I was just like a feisty couple days, but like I'm still. I might need to go off of social media for a while because or I'm about to menstruate or something like that. They say that's a thing. I don't think that's offensive, right? It can't be offensive.
I don't think so.
All right, good. I tell you what, people are like, I know that we like in general, we want people to talk on social media more. But there are a lot of people that I would prefer if they just shut up. I saw it was kind of like a convergence of things. And I kind of connected the dots in my own head. I saw what has got to be the most infuriating tweet I've seen in a very, very long time. All right. And it was bad enough that like I took a screenshot and I sent it to you and I'm like, I think I hate this guy just because of this one tweet. Right. I mean, it's the fact that tweet exists in the universe made the world a worse place. You know, like he literally decreased our quality of life by hitting the send button on this. It's just the dumbest, most tone deaf, right? And I won't go to detail. I don't want you to figure out who it is, right? But basically he was like, it went beyond humble brag, which some people can do a humble brag, you know, where I'm not like, all right, I don't want to choke you. You know, I know what you're doing, but you know, you can do it in a way that it's not as quite as cringe as my kids would say. This went beyond that, and it was like, it's not a humble brag, it's like an indifference to massive loss brag. Like it was, I'm so rich, I can lose 6 figures worth of money. And then he's trying to wax philosophical about how not that long ago he was poor, and now he's at the point where he can lose hundreds of thousands of dollars and it doesn't faze him. And I'm like, that, like, I can't tell you how much I hate that tweet. like it's just like, you know, so, I mean, here's the thing, like, you know, obviously people who are struggling, completely tone deaf, right? And maybe it's brand building through rage bait or something. I certainly hope it's intentional, you know, but it's so, you know, if you're struggling and you read that, you're gonna hate him, which might be the point. But then you're also showing a screenshot of a 6-figure loss. So poor people hate you, and rich people are going to think you're stupid because you took a gamble and you lost it. So you're not even impressing the rich people. So I'm like, I don't know. Apparently you're just an asshole. But anyway, so I sent that screenshot to you, and then so I happened to look. This dude has tens of thousands of followers, right? And then at the same time, I happened to see that you hit the 500 video mark. It's actually 501 now because you posted a brand new podcast. You have 501 videos up on YouTube, and you're not even at 15,000 followers. And I got pretty ticked off. I was like, how is this? How does this clown have 30,000 plus followers, and you don't even have 15,000 on YouTube yet? So I posted something. If you haven't seen it, so Chris didn't know why I was going to do this, but if you're on YouTube right now, double check and make sure you're subscribed. Like, he's at like 14.8. So it's close enough to where we can kind of try to rally people together and push him to 15,000, which will make my menstruating heart feel a little bit better. So make sure, number one, make sure you're subscribed if you're watching on YouTube now. If you're watching on one of the social media channels, click over at some point, make sure you're subscribed to his channel. And if you could share something, as far as I'm concerned, Chris, you deserve to have multiples of that many followers, especially if clowns like the Twitter guy has 30,000. You should be pushing 50 if there was any justice in the world. So,
well, I appreciate that. I've thought long and hard about why it is, and I know that there's not enough videos. I've looked at some other channels that do better than mine, and it's thousands of videos. But I also wonder, is it? I think it's because I got a face for radio, man, and that's okay. Like I've come to terms with that, So,
well, I don't know. Mr. Lose Hundreds of Thousands has a pretty punchable face, and I felt that way before that tweet. So I don't know that it's looks based.
Yeah, that could be. Well, let's dive into some news, and of course, we want to answer your guys' questions. So if you've got something that's bothering you, heck, if you just want to get something off your chest, like, let's do it. Let's get to it. So, first piece of news. This one was interesting. Lego's first half 2025 sales jumped 12% to 34.6 billion Danish crowns. I don't know what that means in actual money. Oh, yes, I do. It's about 5.4 billion is what that is in real money. And that actually beats the overall toy market, which is also growing at about 7%. Now, they had, they know the playbook. Like they know what they're doing, and their big drivers have been partnerships with Formula One, Jurassic Park, Fortnite, Harry Potter, Star Wars. And in 2026, they've got two massive partnerships coming with Pokemon, and I can't say, you know what? I'll tell you what. Something bothers me about Pokemon, okay? It doesn't matter whether I say Pokemon or Pokemon. My son tells me I'm saying it wrong. Period. and I'm just like, there's two ways to pronounce that E, and I get them both wrong. But also One Piece is coming to Lego. So U.S. sales grew at double-digit rates alone, even with tariffs. Operating profit also climbed 10% to 9 billion crowns, supported by Lego's global supply chain. Now, why does this really matter to us? Well, toys are back in growth mode. Not only, for kids, but also the kidults or I don't know, whatever, adults who are buying toys. They're big, and we've got Q4 literally right around the corner. And I really think that it's going to be big money in Q4. And even with tariffs, like, people were probably going to want to lean into toys just a little bit more this year. I think so. Yeah, that's all I got for that. I was surprised at how much they grew year over year compared to the way the toy market's been the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've kind of been. They kind of have this recession-proof draw. Lego is such an interesting company. So I played with them a little bit. I don't really see the draw, but they have cultivated like not like cult like follow. I guess that's probably the best word to explain it. I mean, they just have fiercely loyal fans, and to
Yeah.
be honest with you, I don't, a lot of companies, they can come out with stuff and I can understand probably how the marketing meeting went, and if they were like, hey, all right, we decided to go with Pokemon, it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's another toy brand that seems to be invulnerable to fleeting attention spans. It just remains popular. But like Lego just pulls off stuff that makes no sense. Like they just came out with Pirates of the Caribbean
For $369 or something.
Yeah, that Black Pearl set. Like,
Yeah.
when's the last time Pirates of the Caribbean has been relevant?
Mhm.
Like they don't seem to care. I mean, they'll do what's trending. They'll do stuff nobody's thought about in a while. They'll all of a sudden, make animated movies and just remake Batman and stuff, and that stuff takes off. Which, and they'll just like flat out remake video games with Lego characters instead of what resembles, animated humans. Flies off the shelf, sells incredibly well, and I don't understand it, but apparently that I don't need to understand it because everything they do is I mean, they have the Midas touch apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fascinating. Um for it, I don't know, I don't know who Luke is trying to offend here. If he's trying to offend me, so Chris is pushing 50 a lot sooner than I will. If you mean me, I just turned 40. Like
Yeah,
literally a month ago. So why don't you cool your jets, brother?
he's just I like it, but like you can't try to shoehorn something in. I mean, it's gotta make some sense to us. Man, come on. And if he's talking about me, I'm already there, brother. I don't, but yet you're the one that eats butterscotches from the bottom of old ladies' purses. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're slinging this from.
I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw a bag of butterscotch discs for sale. And I was like, oh man, I really should get these and send them to Luke. All right. And remember, guys, if you guys have questions, I mean, we'll take the ribbing, we'll take the the jokes at our expense. But if you have questions about Amazon, we'll take those as well. Amazon surprised me, which I'm not usually surprised. Sometimes I kind of give a but I'm not usually surprised. But the email they sent out the other day did actually surprise me. Amazon moved up meltable season. So normally you can't send in meltables until October 15th, and you can send them in until March 15th or April 15th, one of those two dates. But now you can start sending in meltable inventory to Amazon on September 22. So a little less than a month from now, and a little over half a month early. Now, Amazon is not going to resume customer orders on FBA meltable products until October 13th, but you can get them in there and get them ready for that October 13th resuming date of sales. So this reverses the kind of reverses what they've done. It's always been kind of pushing it further and further. And so it's just been very interesting. Now you got to remember, meltable means heat sensitive products that can melt with prolonged exposure to 155 degrees. Chocolate, gummies, jelly, and wax based items. Candles are actually, you really want to get bored, you want to fall asleep, go look up, how much beeswax a candle can have in it compared to paraffin before it's meltable at 155 degrees. But I've done that. So, but yeah, this is kind of
wild man,
right? This is kind of a nice thing. Now, why should this even matter to you? Well, Halloween is the second largest holiday for like candy in this country, and so this is going to allow us to be ready for Halloween better than usual, especially if you want to use FBA. And then, of course, we go right into Christmas, and we've got stocking stuffer season and all of that stuff. So this is good news. Like, there's already Halloween candy out. There's already pumpkin spice candy out. And it can all, start being purchased so that you can send it literally on September 22nd. This was, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of it in Florida. I could send stuff to a prep center up north, but for a lot of people, this is going to be really profitable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense from a standpoint. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I was surprised when I saw it too, right? And and then, how you're like kind of kicking stuff around, and then finally you think of one thing, and it's like, oh, that has to be the reason, and it's to take advantage of it. Everybody wants to stretch these seasons out. Like, did you see the Halloween is so popular? Did you see, what is it, Juneween or something, or Summerween?
Summerween, yep.
Summerween, yeah. Like, they're just taking over. They just jumped into other people's seasons, like they don't even care anymore. They're like, not just fall. I'm not settling for autumn. I want more. So this makes sense because it was the way the calendar was set up. It was difficult to fully take advantage of selling Halloween candy. So, and if you think about it, every change that Amazon makes, the easiest way to figure it out is to look at it through a lens of, how does this improve Amazon's bottom line? And I don't say that as criticism. That's every business. Amazon is going to do what's in the best interest of Amazon. Mm-hmm. So it's they'll have more stuff, a wider variety of candy and sugary stuff for Halloween by doing this. So yeah, once I figured that part out, it's like, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So. Yeah. But it's good for us too. It's
I'll take it.
Yeah. The people that specialize in that. I mean, it's going to be nice to have your stuff live and have that 24-hour fulfillment window available on that stuff. Could be huge.
Absolutely. You guys know this. I've talked about it several times now, but I'm going to bring it up again. If one of the things that is missing from social media is the community aspect of running this Amazon business. And I think that we're in the process of perfecting the Amazon seller community with OAC Plus. Like, we're not quite a month old. We've got about 160 folks in there so far, and it is going really, really well. Like, we try to have some motivation in there every single day, where there's a bunch of people absolutely crushing the death pile challenge right now. I'm not sure what our next challenge will be, but I'm going to have another challenge coming up that everyone can participate in. And we're really getting it dialed in. Tomorrow, we've already had we've already had 2 or 3 special guests. Tomorrow, we've got yet another one for our weekly coaching call. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be Steve French, who if you listen to the podcast, does about $3 million in retail arbitrage, basically by himself. He does have some part-time prep help, but $3 million a year in sales with very limited help, while also running like a lead list or two and a newsletter. The guy is just an absolute animal, and I've come up with a set of interview questions to get him to kind of break down how we can all make more money from toys this Q4, because that's what he's really, really good at. But on top of that, we're trying to make everybody money who comes into the OA challenge or OAC plus. So there are Amazon to Amazon flip leads that go 24/7. I haven't looked up how many come in a day, but I know that they are around the clock. You also get free access to Storefront Stalker Pro. You get 3 stores that you can stalk on a regular basis. And dude, I just found out. So, um, I've told you, and maybe other people don't know, but I've been using Seller Snap over the last couple of weeks to see how it works, because I just always pushed back from trying it. Being the higher priced option. Well, they rolled out something that is amazing. Okay, they have a competitors tab inside of inside the repricer. And so what they do is they grab all of your ASINs, and then they go and they find a bunch of the sellers who sort of look similar to your storefront. And so I was looking at it today and I was like, oh, this is neat. And Georgie showed me just the other day. And we just went over it real quick, but I looked at it today. 1,100 storefronts. I can export them. I can download them. It gives me data on each one, like how much they're back ordered, how much buy box percentage each one of those sellers is getting. I mean, some really cool data. And it's going to make me even better at storefront stalking.
Right.
And so I'm very excited about it. But also on September 11th, we've got Seller Snap coming in to show us how to make more money with Seller Snap and use all of the features. They've got some new features that have just rolled out, so we're going to be doing that. You also get access to over $3,000 of education. I'm rolling in some Amazon influencer stuff right now. We've got the Wholesale Challenge. We've got Keepa Academy. We've got OA Challenge. We've got Keepa SOPs. Chris hosts live sourcing sessions every single Monday. Find several $100s worth of profit in 90 minutes or so. We do weekly coaching on Thursdays. Of course, you get access to the entire community. There's a ticketing system. So if you need someone to look at a lead of yours without sourcing it, okay, we don't steal your leads. We'll just give you a Loom video. You need help with something done. We've had 2 or 3 members come out of Section 3s already out of this, and you get suspension support. So if you get suspended after becoming a member, we're going to walk you through the whole thing, like soup to nuts. We'll take you through the entire thing. I actually just wrote a POA for somebody and gave them some ideas just yesterday. And that's all included in OAC Plus. So if you're looking for a community to join, I know that I'm biased, but I would recommend joining us. And you can find that over at oachallenge.com/plus. It is, and I'm not even done. So like, this is going to be amazing once I'm actually all done.
Yeah. And, I mean, seriously, like break down some of the numbers just to try to make it a little more clear. Like, there are suspension support services, right? And some have actual lawyers but then some don't. They just kind of specialize in representing you and interacting with the seller support from Amazon. I mean, that's like, we're talking like $100 a month basically, retainer, whether it's an actual lawyer or not, but that's basically $100 a month service, and you can just open up a ticket in OAC Plus. And I mean, we've had people, I've seen the transcripts from some of the people that Chris has helped, and we're talking about like, okay, I did this and they rejected it. And like he's helped people through like the roadblock issues, so it's not just, it's not just some chat GPT form letter that he's spitting out and copying and pasting for you. So, I mean, that's a real thing. And Storefront Stalker Pro, we've talked about that. I mean, you can hang out with me on a Monday night and you'll get your monthly fee back, and it's just like almost every piece would be worth what it costs to be in there on its own, but you're just having this collection, this ensemble of value that makes it a no-brainer. And unfortunately, the founders rate is expired.
Yes.
Any fence sitters, you missed out on that. However, you guys did just roll out the annual plan.
There is a discounted
right?
annual plan. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So and the great thing about that is it skips the initial fee, the sign up fee, and then gives you a discount on the monthly if you go with the annual plan. So not all is lost if you were kicking around and dragging your feet and missed out on the founders rate. So
yeah. And we've got something coming that was Chris's idea, which is going to be awesome. I'm not going to give it away, but it'll be done by next week, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, if you're interested in joining us, head over to oachallenge.com/plus. There should be a link down in the video or the show notes. We'd love to have you. We have a pretty good time in there. Just sort of the banter on top of helping each other out. So
just do me one favor. If you do join, don't join assuming that you're going to defend Luke against things I say about him. Okay, that is not allowed. That we have very few rules. Don't be a dick, and don't defend Luke when I'm giving him the business. Like that's some things are sacred.
Exactly. All right, last piece of news, and then we'll get to your guys' questions. I read this news article, and I was sort of surprised, but according to a new survey by Clutch, 98% of consumers see products on social media, and 78% of consumers admit that they're influenced by brand content, etc. But only 15% are actually buying directly on those platforms, which honestly, I did not believe. But basically, they're scrolling, they click, they think about it. But when it comes to handing over cash, they go somewhere else. Now, the survey did say that Facebook and TikTok are actually leading the way for actual purchases, mostly due to built-in shopping features. But YouTube dominates the research portion, which makes total sense. You can see an unboxing video, you can see a review video, etc. But most of these users are just treating it like a visual search engine for tutorials, reviews, and things like that. Nearly 60% of shoppers are still worried about scams and security on social media checkouts. I get. Matter of fact, the one and only thing I've ever bought from TikTok Shop was counterfeit. Poorly counterfeit as well. But that's the biggest roadblock that's keeping conversions low. Now, what are the things that are nudging people over the line? Well, discounts. 35% say that they would buy for a deal, which I saw, what's the brand? Ninja doing this very well on, I opened up TikTok the other night. It was a mistake. I apologize. But I saw like 4 or 5 ads from Ninja for one of their new products. And right there was like a $90 discount. And that's how they were getting people to convert. Some say that they would do it based on peer recommendations. But now, when customers do actually buy, like 64% said a good first experience would lead them to buy again. So, like, all the people who are talking about making all this money on TikTok and places like that, like it's not quite the cash register that people are hoping that it would be. Now, does that mean there's not money to be made? I mean, when you've got a couple billion users, 15% of a couple billion is still a pretty big number. But it is much more it's much more a trust building machine than it is anything else.
Yeah, because the influencer economy is for real. I don't know if we were looking at the same article, but I kind of dug into an article on this, and it kind of, certain aspects of it went the way you would think, with the younger generations being more more willing to buy based on an influencer's recommendation, right? It just skews the younger the person, the more likely they are. That makes perfect sense, right? However, the wrinkle that I thought was really interesting was Gen Z, the Zoomers, are actually the highest, the most likely age group to see a product online and go buy it in store. Like, buy a lot. Even I mean, it was amazing. They call it, I don't know how they pronounce it. I assume the B goes with the web, but have you heard the term web brooming?
I have not. No.
Yeah, that's the practice of seeing a product online and then going in store to actually buy it. I'm not predicting a renaissance of brick and mortar. However, it's an interesting trend, and interesting demographic makeup of who's doing it the most. But yeah, this is, essentially, and if you do, if somebody's looking at eventually try and private label out, apparently if you don't have pictures and you don't have an unboxing video, your product does not exist. Yeah, that's apparently the market that we're in currently. So
that's interesting.
It'll keep being interesting, because you need to, I'm curious how this ends up affecting, once Gen Z gets more disposable income and kind of pulls, about the same weight as the other age groups. I'm curious how it changes commerce in general, and sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be very, very interesting to see how that goes. My 12-year-old is, he's starting to get there. He doesn't have any, income or anything like that, but he is, he does send me links from like YouTube for things that like he wants, like I would have showed my dad a commercial when I was a kid. I have to sit there and wait until it's on again and then yell at him to hurry so that he could see the commercial for the Ninja Turtle action figure I wanted. But he'll just, he actually wanted some soap from, it's a One Piece like special edition from one of those soap companies.
Okay.
And that's how he found it, was YouTube.
If your kids smell anything like my kids, they can have any kind of soap that they want.
Yeah, there's no budget, there's no line item in the budget for books and soap in this house, because they stink. All right. Ryan says he likes the less filtered Krasik.
I'm gonna get myself in trouble if I keep running my mouth like this.
Let's see here. Luke, candy corn season. Candy corn, it just goes directly in the garbage can. And houses that give out candy corn, those are the houses I would egg as a kid with hard-boiled eggs.
Luke probably he probably goes car shopping and he's like, "Do you have any ones that have crank windows still? I don't trust the motor. They might break. You can never go wrong with a good crank window." We're the boomers, though.
Right. Let's see here. Oh, Shannon, that's great to hear. Yeah, I seriously wish I had more time to take advantage of everything in there. And I got to give Shannon a huge shout. I think that she may be winning Box Wars as of right now. Um, I haven't done a deep dive, but I think it was 3,000 pounds, or no, it's 3,000 units, 2,207 pounds, and 49 boxes. Um, yeah, Shannon, I think she's winning Box Wars.
You usually see the boxes like outside of homes and garages, and you can see some pretty impressive stacks. No, Shannon fills up like the entire garage is what's being shipped out in the picture. Like,
Yeah, and what
she's
a
just
clean and orderly garage.
yeah.
Uh,
Who does that? What is going on over there, Shannon? I mean, you clearly have the time. You clearly outsource your lawn care to have that kind of time to be that organized.
let's see here, Corey. Corey, you're gonna fly down here for a sourcing weekend, rent a house next to mine, just during U of M and Ohio State weekend. Uh, come at me, bro. Come at me. Never mind. And we got stand your ground laws here in Florida, so just be careful. Um, Lewis,
Isn't he like a Michigan State guy anyway? Like he's just like he's just being like a surrogate arch enemy.
right? Lewis, have you guys tried out Boxy yet? Yes, I've actually got a video coming on it. It is it's good, for a brand new edition, and being able to have it for free inside of your Boxum account. I think it's going to be a nice little tool that sellers can use for all kinds of different things. The thing that I used it for the other day is, let me pull up my chat with Boxum's AI here. Bear with me just a second. I wanted to push it just a touch. And there it is. So I gave it a serious prompt, and I asked for it to, I asked if it had access to my sales data, which it doesn't, which it could pull from Boxum's analytics, but they don't have that built in. And so what I did is I said, hey, help me figure out what ASINs I should restock. And then it actually told me, like, here's how to run a restock report. And if you upload this, I'll give you, the information you're looking for, et cetera, and so on. And then I actually pasted in my restock report, and it gave me some ideas of like what to restock based on my restock report from Amazon. And then I did a few other things and asked it for some help on a few other items, and it was good. I actually said, hey, give me some ideas of similar products I could sell, that kind of stuff. And you can ask it simple questions too, like where should I go find coupons for this particular source site or that source site. I mean, that stuff I think is just simple. So I think we should do that on our own. But my opinion is that we should be using AI to try to crunch data, large sets of data, and then use that data to make informed decisions about our businesses. And that's what it can do. And so it's good.
So and I don't know if I missed it or not, but Boxy is AI within Boxum, correct?
Yeah, it is AI that is trained on like Amazon content and Amazon terms and of service and things like that. And it's all inside of Boxum. I think you get 100 tokens per month for free. And basically like one chat is a token. They didn't go crazy on it, but they got to pay for the API from whatever LLM they're using. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Shannon outsources lawn care and laundry. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Man. All right. Deal Hunter, I see a seller fulfilled prime in a listing. I see. So seller fulfilled Prime is just somebody who has the ability to get the Prime badge while also doing merchant fulfilled. It's not like a particular person. Matter of fact, SFP or seller fulfilled Prime, it's open to anybody. Anybody can do it if you hit the metrics. Um, but I see very few people doing it. I have seen, I think, one this past week. I'm just not sure it makes a whole lot of sense.
And they shut down the availability for it for a while, right?
They did, yeah. They made it. It was like invite only for a while, and now it's open to everybody. Corey, this is a surprisingly thoughtful question. I appreciate that. What's the toughest pivot you've ever had to counter since starting on Amazon? And so I actually told this story just the other day. I was in someone else's group doing an interview, and um, for me, it was when Amazon essentially killed my book business overnight. So, like, I think that a lot of times we're dealing with a lot of people who have been sellers for, 5, maybe 6 years, and those are people who've been around for a long time. I am essentially, I deserve to be in the retirement community of Amazon sellers for as long as I've been on the platform. And we've seen big changes happen way more than, through the years than people think. So I had probably 4 or 5 thousand books in stock at FBA at one time. We were doing bulk books from uh, a distributor we got a contact with in Columbus, Ohio, Half Price Books. We were buying unsorted pallets from their warehouse, and taking them home, processing them, sending what we could in, and then taking the ones that we couldn't sell right back to Half Price Books, and they were giving us store credit for them. It was a great little racket. But what Amazon did is they said, "Hey, guess what? Here are storage fees, and here are long-term storage fees. Oh, and if your stuff is at Amazon now over a certain time period, we're going to go ahead and start charging long-term storage fees on those items." And so my fees went from about $30 a month to something like $1,200 a month, literally overnight. And I got that first bill, and I, paid it, and we had to get rid of it. It was cheaper to destroy all of that inventory and call back some of it than it was to continue trying to grow that business. And so and then we had to pivot into retail arbitrage and online arbitrage and stuff like that. So that was probably my biggest pivot, and it sucked.
Yeah, I don't know, probably my biggest pivot. I think I've talked about this before, so I won't go into great detail. But I do marvel at the fact of how long I thought about and romanticized working for myself, being self-employed, and then comparing that to how thoroughly unprepared I was once I became self-employed. It's you kind of take for granted that the working, having a W-2, your entire schedule is set for you, and essentially, these real tight corridors that you follow, and it kind of strangles you and eats your soul when you're doing it. But without them, and then once the walls are knocked down, you can literally do anything for as long as you want or as little as you want as you're self-employed. Having to balance that with the self-discipline involved with actually figuring out what a productive workday looks like. That confounded me for a long time, and I wasted some time, and my attitude wasn't right either. It's I kind of I reveled in my freedom a little bit too much, and it took me a little bit too long to realize that I wasn't running a very good business. I was kind of my victory lap took a little bit too long. So that was the reality of going full time was the toughest. It's not necessarily a pivot. I mean, it was utterly predictable. I caused it, and then but to have it thrown in your face and go, you're woefully unprepared for this, So you got to kind of beat yourself up, and then the flip side to it is, so it's weird. It's so I had to structure a day. I had to figure out how to be how to have a business, be a self-employed entrepreneur, and then I started a leads business. So then I had to figure out how to do it in less time, because now I've got to do leads for a leads company too. And then I have to have my own inventory. And, so I kind of had to build it. I had to build out whatever my full-time hours were going to be as a seller. And then I had to then trim whatever fat that I just put in there. So that was, it fascinates me. But it was a lot tougher than, I kind of shake my head and go, God, you're an idiot. But I kind of do that in regular intervals anyway. So
yeah, that sounds about what I say to myself every morning when I look in the mirror. Man, you're an idiot. Let's see here. Yeah, and if anybody has any other questions, get them in now. Let's see here. Yeah, Luke. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how some booksellers or used booksellers are surviving. It doesn't. If I were going to do it today, I do think it can be done. However, and we've got a podcast coming out with somebody who does $100 million a year in used book sales. I'm just waiting on the thumbnail. And you got to have your own warehouse. Like you can't really use FBA, not at massive scale, I don't think. Unless you're doing some real small margin, high volume type of stuff. So
I took a page out of your book, Chris, today, actually. I had the guy come over and we're getting an estimate done to redo our bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the situations. I think it's been a couple of years since I talked to this company. So the guy that I had worked with, when the guy that did our kitchen, he left the company. So I called the same company thinking I was going to, be talking to Barry, and some kid called me a couple days after I sent an email and goes, "Oh, well, Barry's not with us." Of course, has no idea where Barry went. I get that. I knew that was going to be the answer when I asked, but had to. But so anyway, so the guy comes over and he has to take new measurements and he kind of has to refresh the estimate. And apparently I'm losing the multi-room discount that Barry was going to give me. I think I haven't gotten the quote yet, but anyway, so talking to the guy, and he was, he's a pretty nice guy. I think he was like the owner or co-owner or something like that. And he asked about business, and I asked him, and we were talking about his business. He goes, how's your business? She kind of caught me off guard. It's like, what kind of notes did Barry leave in that file? But anyway, so I told him I was in e-commerce. Turns out he's had 2 pallets of floating shelves at his office or in his warehouse for like 3 to 4 years that he's dying to get rid of. He said, I just want them gone. So, and it's like, he said the retail was, almost $200. He goes, but I mean, hell, I'd take $30-$40 at this point if I could just make them go away. And he goes, do you think you could move something like that? I'm like, yeah, I bet I could. He goes, oh, I'll send you some pictures when I send the estimate over. And it's like, nice, just kind of
sweet.
Just asking questions of a business owner. That's, I even got done. He left. I closed the door after he left, and I was like, Chris Grant's going to be proud of me.
Absolutely. It really is amazing what people will tell you. It's absolutely amazing. Stacy, got a call from Temu Marketplace today. They were trying to recruit me as a seller. Any thoughts? At first glance, doesn't look very well put together. I've literally never been on Temu. Not interested in the garbage that is sold on there. I believe my wife one time bought something from there and was extremely disappointed. Um, I'm guessing it's probably not a place for you, especially if you're doing arbitrage. Like they want cheap junk, cheap clothes, that kind of stuff. So plus the volume of sales has dropped significantly since the whole tariff situation. So probably not worth your time. Probably a much better ROI growing your Amazon business.
Yeah, those margins have to be. Those margins have to be paper thin.
Yeah. Do you guys know anyone to learn about commercial real estate? No, I don't know anybody like that. I would just say, hey, you go to this person. Ryan, if you're not already there, I would suggest that you head over to Twitter, though. Real estate Twitter is pretty big. There is a gentleman by the name of Moses. Let me there is a guy by the name of Moses Kagan who has multifamily units in California, and he talks a lot about real estate and shares who's good, who's bad in the space. So that might be someone you look to. I'm not really that interested in commercial real estate, and I follow him because I think he's just a really smart guy. So that might be where I start and then kind of branch off from there.
Yeah, I think another resource. I mean, I'm sure Bigger Pockets has something geared towards commercial. Definitely. I mean, you could probably learn something even if it's just multifamily dwellings and whatnot. I'm sure there's some crossover there that would get you a little bit of an education. If you're in Stark County, Ohio, I can give you a list of commercial realtors that will not return your phone call. I can definitely provide that information for you. Yeah, I had a difficult time myself. So yeah, if you find somebody, Ryan, let me know, because it is something that I want to learn more about myself.
Yeah, me too. Tony, what's the size limit you can send via email for section 3? I want to say it's 50 megabytes. So one thing I would do is if you've got a fairly hefty PDF file, is make sure you go and use some sort of compression tool. I don't care whether it's Adobe or small PDF or whatever. Just Google compress PDF and you'll find something that should do a pretty good job. Putting aside the business part of it, were there any personal struggles you dealt with you're willing to share while transitioning to self-employment, social life, being a workaholic, stress, etc.? Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll try to keep it brief. Yeah, there are there were a lot of personal struggles. And there are struggles I know of that I didn't go through that others do, because I really don't want to be around other people. So I can't talk about the loneliness part of it. But no, there was there's some anxiety that comes along with debt loads that you carry. Because I trying to scale. I don't know how anybody actually scales without carrying some debt. I kind of like read that stuff with one eye closed. When people are like, oh, no, if it's not on my bank account, I don't buy inventory. It's like, shut up. Yes, you do. I don't believe it. Or they're not scaling, you know, I mean, they're not trying to do the numbers that I was doing, you know, so I carried debt, and that's coming from the consumer mindset of, geez, I want it reducing, you know, to purposely increase your debt load and tell yourself that that was going to make you more money, you know, and that was going to increase your sales volume and all that stuff. It's like counterintuitive to the consumer brain that I was coming from, you know, so there's anxiety with that as well. And then, you know, I'm not like I don't know how to put it. Like, I wasn't the type of person that would just like take a radio apart and put it back together. You know, like I stay on the rails, you know, from a personal standpoint. So, you know, the fact that there is no protocol for this, you know, and you're just kind of, you're going on essentially hearsay from what you've seen, either whether it be social media or a course that you bought or whatever, you know, there's nobody in the cubicle next to you that you could be like, I'm doing this right, you know, like there's no confirmation that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, you know. That's scary, you know, that I had a difficult time with that, you know, because I was just kind of going on faith, and that's not typically how I'm wired. So that, yeah, there was anxiety. I've had several things, or a combination of things that have forced me to self-medicate in a non-alcohol way, you know, my anxiety, you know, there's just certain stuff that, you know, are a combination of things that builds up, and, you know, I've had to look into, you know, like taking walks and, you know, losing some weight and trying to be healthier that way, just to hope that kind of had a horseshoes and hand grenades effect on lowering anxiety as a whole, you know, because if I was healthier, then I knew I wasn't really having a heart attack. It was, you know, it was based on business. Like, okay, this is work anxiety. I'm not actually dying right this minute. But yeah, it's it could be scary, and you know, it can test your resolve, and you can really start questioning whether you're doing the right thing, doing what you're supposed to do, especially when you have a family that is a multiplier to these things that I think everybody deals with to some degree.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna parrot what you said. Yeah, the social life thing. Yeah, that wasn't a huge deal. I'm not like a hermit, but I'm also a fairly introverted person. You know, but if I need to go somewhere to a birthday party to, you know, have friends over, that kind of stuff, like I'll go. I'm naturally, or I don't know if it's a natural thing, but I seem to be wired as a workaholic. Um, there are some issues there, just kind of working through communication and you know, boundaries and things like that. But you know, we got that all figured out eventually. That took years. The stress side, though, I'm very similar to Chris. There, I remember when I first became my own boss. Uh, there were a lot more days that I spent sleeping, because I didn't want to face the fact that, like, I was the one responsible for, like, that was it. The buck stops here. If I fail, you know, it's on me. If I succeed, it's on me. Those are actually both anxiety inducing, both of those things. Like, if I fail, that's a horrible thing, and it doesn't mean you're a failure, but that's not what our lizard brain tells us. And if you are successful, well, that comes with its own bag of problems and responsibilities. And so I would say that for the first month or two, like, I was probably so stressed out, you know, that there were a lot of days where I actually did not get out of bed. It was, at the time, it was very embarrassing, and I would not tell anybody. Like, the only person who knew was my wife. And you know, looking back on that, you know, I'm glad I can talk about it and be like, you know, that's actually pretty common because you get so stressed out. And like Chris said, there are some things you can do about that. You can take some walks, you can, talk to somebody. And I mean, I don't mean to turn this into a plug, but that's actually something we're going to do in OAC. I've got a therapist coming in, and we're going to talk about anxiety and dealing with it and having conversations and setting healthy boundaries and things like that, to try to help out, because it's a real thing. And I'm kind of glad that the stigma over this kind of thing has kind of gone by the wayside, at least a lot more than it has, maybe pre-pandemic.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we had to talk about it. The losing your job, being forced to work from home, work remote, and that was similar to there are a whole bunch of people that dipped into e-commerce out of necessity. There were a lot of people that lost their water cooler, and that's you say that kind of as half a joke, but the water cooler is a social foundation in a workplace, and it's very important to a lot of people, surprisingly. So yeah, and then not to mention a recurring theme I like asking a lot of our guests, when the context is there, about the guilt of giving yourself permission to stop working for the day, especially when you're first starting out, because you're not hitting the numbers. There's nothing to brag about in the beginning, unless, I mean, I guess there are some people, that went balls to the wall and, started putting some serious numbers, but you have to make some sacrifices as far as like personal income. You're not bragging to your buddies, that you left, when you threw up your deuces and walked out the door from your full-time gig. It kind of takes a while before you could actually give some actual numbers to your old work buddies, so you kind of have to balance that. And if you have a family, if you have a significant other, it could be tough to, when you have those talks, for a while, when you're first beginning, you're kind of leaning on the strength of your relationship with your significant other. Be like, I need to tell my wife, I'm not pulling a salary. I need to invest whatever profit back into inventory to scale. And that could be a tough conversation to have, So then you have the point where it's like, okay, I had to tell my wife, that I'm purposely not going to pull an income, so things will be a little bit tight. She has to make some sacrifices. Maybe her kids have to make some sacrifices, or at least, not DoorDash the food, let's go pick up the pizza and save $25 on delivery fees and tips and stuff, so now you have a responsibility. It's like, okay, my wife, she bought into this. I have to pay off that faith that she put in me, so you have to do it for yourself. You have to prove it to yourself. Now you have to prove it to your family as well. That's a lot of pressure. So personally, I didn't want my wife to see me with the TV on, because I didn't want her to question my commitment to my family and to doing this, and to be in the version that I wanted to be, the self-employed husband and father. I felt that was a betrayal to the faith that she put in me. So it kind of forced me into, those workaholic trends, and there's a guilt associated with that. And, guilt and anxiety, they're kind of arm in arm in your head, and they can wreak some havoc if you let it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shannon, you bring up a really good point here. Amazon created so much anxiety for me that I'm now numb to it. You're absolutely right. Dealing with anxiety, dealing with stress, that kind of stuff. Of course, we don't want our cortisol levels to get too high, but exercising that stress muscle allows us to be able to handle more and more. So yeah, and having to call the IRS, yeah, that's a huge pain. Yeah, this is surprisingly a lot more helpful than I was expecting it would be. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's a huge time commitment. Absolutely. So, and good to have these kind of conversations with our significant others. So,
Yeah.
all
And
right.
Debbie, that's Debbie, I see your comment. That's yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that because that's the other thing. You kind of go through this stuff, and we could fold this back into another pitch for OAC Plus. Like,
Right.
you're not alone. That's, but I say that to maybe because I'm uncomfortable with how serious this got, but that's true. A community, being able to network, that's the part. Those are the smallest chapters in the books on the importance of networking. Is being able to talk shop and bounce stuff off, and as you're doing that, you're realizing that there are people out there that have the same problems, because when you talk to all your old work buddies or whoever, your spouse, my wife, she just kind of, her eyes kind of gloss over, and she doesn't understand it. She'll ask and be supportive, and but she doesn't want to get into the details. We covered it Monday night. I got a little chatty on Monday night, because it felt so good to talk about stuff that there's just not a very big audience for. It's a very, very selective audience, so to be able to have that, I took advantage of it for about close to an hour till Jaron told me to shut up and make him some money. So
yeah, it's therapeutic. It really is. And Tony, you're right. Yeah, this episode is the opposite of Amazon Twitter. There is, fortunately, that's why we kind of like to do this. There is time for nuance and time for being a bit vulnerable, and that's okay. Because behind the scene, we really do all kind of have similar issues and problems, and and fears and things. So, and it's not a bad thing to talk about. We can still be men and talk about it. So, and women, of course. I'm not going to leave you ladies out. All right. Well, we've been going for about an hour. We should probably wrap this thing up, but we're going to be back on Sunday to do this all over again with you guys with more news, and we're going to bring back the business maxim or rule, or something to help out your business in some way as well. So until then, we'll see you, or I'll see you tomorrow for our interview with Steve. So, all right. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.